To our millions and millions of listeners, I'm Mike Lepore. I'm joined with Phil Plante-Ajah, and you're listening to the very first installment of the Civil War. Phil, glad to have you here, buddy.
Glad to have you here, actually.
What's that song in the background there, Phil? Sounds familiar. I can't put my finger on it.
It's the song of my childhood. It's the song of a Minnesota North Star looking team.
Were the Minnesota North Stars like, purple in that game?
No. Minnesota North Stars were the Minnesota yellow gold. But yeah. I think Toronto was purple.
Toronto was kind of like a baby blue and like a dark blue mixed together, which the Leafs, in fact, never wore.
No, that was their troop.
Their troop?
Yeah, that was the troop.
I'm pretty sure LA was yellow and purple though. The LA team, and it was yellow
at the time, like the
in
Golden
the game.
Seals.
In the game.
Are you talking about like the
Golden Seals? The LA Kings. Like it would have been the LA Kings, right?
Were they ever that color?
The yellow and purple?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lakers, man. They were the Lakers colors.
Okay.
And when Gretzky,
I think it was the Golden Seals.
And then
that color.
No, and then Gretzky got there and he said, "If you want me, you're changing the colors."
Gretzky.
There's a whole marketing.
Gretzky.
Thing. Would you say Blades of Steel is your favorite sports video game of all time?
I would say that it would have to go. I mean, I think if Blades of Steel can compete with the games of today, obviously it did a lot of things right.
Yeah, in terms of entertainment. Like in terms of you can play that game for 7 hours straight.
Well, you have to play it for 7 hours straight.
To beat the whole thing.
To get to the shootout that
yes.
you want to do, you'd have to play a tie on purpose at center ice.
Yeah, no, I'm sure many of us played the on-purpose tie with our buddies to get to the shootout. That slap shot from the blue line. But you know what, though? I may have to say that the Blades of Steel wasn't my all-time favorite sports game.
Tecmo.
I'm going to have to go with Tecmo Super Bowl. Bo Jackson just had too much. It was too much of a blast. I remember, actually, funny enough, I still always want to play against the New England Patriots because they were awful. They see how many yards and touchdowns I could get Bo Jackson. Fantastic.
Base Wars.
Base Wars was good. Super Play Action Football
World
was good.
Cup Soccer, not a FIFA licensed
for Nintendo.
Product. You could do a backflip kick and shoot a cookie super shot that makes the player's eyeballs come
Speaking
out
of games that took 7 hours to beat, World Cup Soccer for Nintendo.
Once you get to the East German team.
Yeah, the East German team. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to run through a few topics, 5 minutes a topic. We're going to have a blast with this. Being in the Olympic spirit, being in Canada, the first topic is going to be our Canadian Olympic team. And I can't put my finger on it.
Men, let's
start with the men. We'll start with the men.
Clarify.
Before we build it up to the women. I never thought we would do that, but we'll start with the men.
Never any doubt for me, ladies.
Really? Never any doubt. Yeah, you guys couldn't see Phil's reaction there. But the men, not playing terribly, not playing necessarily at the top of their level. It's kind of hard to put my finger on what's wrong with them, if at all. But Phil, tell me, bud, what's your assessment of what's happened so far?
Well, I mean, my opinion is very, very probably not respected in the community, but I would say that Jeff Carter's hat trick aside, no Canadian forward has more than one goal. Do you know who the two leading scorers for Team Canada are?
Weber and Doughty, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Weber and Doughty. Defenseman.
Problem number one. 10 of 14 forwards without a goal, including Sidney Crosby, Taves, Perry.
Does Getzlaf have a goal?
Getzlaf does have a goal. He had the nice goal. He probably had the nicest goal.
Yeah, he had the shorty with the back end. Yeah, the shorty. Tavares didn't score before he got hurt.
Yeah, well.
It's been rough. Yeah, that's another topic. Tavares getting hurt. But my thing is this, though. I mean, everyone's freaking out. These guys, especially on Sid, they're not putting up points. But is this the case where they're playing teams like Austria, they're playing Latvia, and I know it's easy for people to say it shouldn't matter and they should be 100% of their game. Have they just not played a strong enough matchup yet to play at their best? Is that what it is? Because to me, I look at Sid, and we got the Americans tomorrow. If he puts up a goal and a helper and they win, it'll all be forgotten. And to me, too, it's one of those cases, and I compare it to football, where, Peyton Manning's playing Jacksonville, and if he plays at his best, he'll throw for 400 yards, but he doesn't. They'll win 24-13. He'll throw for 200 yards with a nice percentage and 2 touchdowns, and they'll win easy, but not necessarily not good stats. And I'm not panicking yet. I'm not worried. I know a lot of people are. And if they do lose tomorrow to the red, white, and blue, I know there will be some freakouts. But I don't know. At this point, I'm not panicked. Would you say you're panicked?
I'm not panicked, but based on what you said, it's like, maybe Peyton Manning doesn't have the best stat line, but the Broncos are never in doubt of losing the game.
Have you ever put Canada in doubt at any point in this tournament?
Well, I mean, at 1-1, going in with Latvia, there's been stranger bounces that have occurred.
Yeah, you kind of had that feeling. You were waiting for that ridiculous bounce.
Not like that would have done, insane things to our chances, but we still kind of want... Basically, I remember when the tournament starts, you're naming the team, and the argument was you basically have our B team could make semifinals. Could
come second. Yeah.
How about our A team just takes out Latvia like 3-0?
But does that bother you?
It does bother me. Yeah, it does because U.S. isn't just sneaking in; they're on a streak.
They're on fire.
Sorry, the Maple Leafs of the United States.
They're pretty good. Those guys.
Good, very good. It pains me to say Ryan Burke. I'm tipping my hat.
Yeah, whoa! Yes, stop the presses.
I know.
Stop the presses.
I will always pray for your, ultimate demise, but you've assembled a very good team.
So Canada wins and Kessel blows a knee tomorrow is the prayer for the ultimate demise.
I think so, but you know what? The situation with Canada kind of reminds me of Mighty Ducks. We're talking about 90s throwbacks. How about this? The Mighty Ducks get to the tournament. What was it, Mighty Ducks 2? They get to the tournament. They're kind of like shit in the bed.
Not playing well.
They smack them around. Put your old jerseys on. Let's turn it around, guys. Let's go Team USA.
So please tell me Canada's not going to wear the black tomorrow.
I'm saying get rid of these stupid jerseys that no one likes. Go put on the original ones and don't change. And get your swagger back. Stop, letting Latvia take you to the third period. I'm sorry, but the U.S. is looking at that and they're saying Latvia just took Canada to the third period, guys.
Are the Americans the favorite tomorrow? I think that's a big question.
Between Canada and no. Canada automatically every game is the favorite.
But if you were betting,
if you're in the first period and you're still tied, that goes out the window. I think then it becomes an actual game.
You think the longer
Canada has the edge. Every game, the start.
But the longer this game goes scoreless, the better it is for the Americans.
Absolutely, absolutely. If Crosby, Taves, Perry, Getzlaff, Ben, Carter, these guys stay basically goalless. Any of those guys.
Someone's going to show up tomorrow.
If they need to.
Or got to show up,
They have to. Yeah, and that's kind of my beef with them. It's like, you know what, guys? Fine. That's why you assemble a team like this. This was the argument. We have so much talent. Well, you know what? Somebody, and unfortunately we are looking at Sid the Kid, because everyone likes to talk him up a big deal.
But speaking of talent, speaking of this team, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and we were looking back at the 2002 team and the types of players who were on that team. Guys like Ryan Smith, Theo Fleury, Owen Nolan. You had those old kind of Canadian hockey type grinders.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what took them past the U.S. in the gold medal game.
I agree.
Does this Team Canada really have that? Like, of course we have guys like Jonathan Toews. We have guys like Patrick Sharp that can play penalty kill role. But are we lacking that grit? Because you look back 4 years ago, and we had Eric Stahl, we had Mike Richards, we had Brendan Morrow. Mm-hmm. Is this team missing that? Because USA's got guys like Backus and Kessler. They have those types of characters.
I was very surprised that Jerome McGinley didn't make this squad. I think he would I think he would have been a perfect guy for it.
Just as a
veteran, he'll play the grit. If you're talking about the golden goal, who else do you want on the ice with Sidney Crosby? That's my.
There's a lot of miles on those.
You know what?
Now.
You know what? I think everyone's interpretation about who should have went is meaningless now because you basically have. Again,
it's meaningless anyway. It's meaningless since the start.
No, but
my 10-year-old cousin could have picked a team he won a gold medal. I'm not trying to be funny. He could have put together a team that won the gold medal. That could win the gold medal.
Apparently, he's actually getting tapped right now. By Maple Leaf Brass.
Yeah,
so
by
if you're
Maple Leaf
listening,
Brass.
Okay, you're.
Who wins tomorrow?
I think who wins tomorrow.
We'll start first. Finland, Sweden. Who wins tomorrow?
I think Sweden takes it.
Easily or
no?
Closer?
I think Finland, Sweden is the same thing as Canada, US.
I'm picking Sweden in overtime.
If Sweden and Finland are tied going into the second period, Finland takes it.
First wins?
Yeah.
Really? Tuukka, big win by Tuukka, big performance by Tuukka Rask.
I think I just think right now you have Zetterberg, out.
Yeah.
Not that it's a huge hole. They're a very deep team, but I mean
that's big, man.
Absolutely.
That's big. I don't know. I picked Sweden in overtime, and I say Canada. I say we see from Canada what we saw 4 years ago against Russia. I'm saying not necessarily a blowout like we did 4 years ago, but I think it's a.
I hope it's convincing.
It's easier than I think people are expecting.
I hope it's convincing.
I think so. Corey Perry's the guy tomorrow. That's my pick.
If Canada takes, you're talking about game-winning goal.
He's the star of the game.
If Canada takes U.S. in a convincing fashion, I think the final is just Canada has the intimidation factor back, and then it's
to me that game
final.
Is the gold medal game. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. This American team is built very well, and just top to bottom, they're firing on all cylinders. They have goaltending. That's the thing too. Like Quick hasn't necessarily had to steal a game yet. He can steal a game. It's gonna be awesome, man. I'm still picking Canada to win, but it's gonna be a blast.
Well, so moving from one team that's
speaking of a blast,
yeah, one team that's. Where do you want to go right now? You want to go Russia or do you want to go...
No, let's go Russia.
Okay, let's go Russia. I mean, Russia.
Yeah. So next topic, we're done. That's all you got to say. Yeah.
I'm black.
Yeah, exactly. So where do we begin with this? Russia didn't start the tournament well. They sure as hell didn't finish the tournament well.
They started the tournament well.
Oh, right. That first game
5-2.
Yeah, Slovakia, right?
Was it Slovakia or Slovenia? Slovenia.
Okay.
Slovenia.
Do we even want to call that?
Slovakia.
Do we even want to call that starting the tournament well? Then beating Slovenia,
beating Austria 8-0. I mean, it still counts.
I guess, but I mean,
these teams did qualify for the Olympics. There's a lot of teams that didn't.
This Russian team never played to their potential. We'll put it that way.
I think they did play to their potential.
Really?
I think this.
You think this Russian team doesn't deserve to be in the semifinals?
Absolutely. I think the Russian program is lost. I think if you're looking at teams right now that are actually hitting the panic button, I think Russia's hitting the panic button. And, you look back at Canada and Vancouver, you say, okay, they were under a lot of pressure because the nation was on them. Well, that's not the same pressure as having an ex-KGB agent in the stands, with, nuclear codes probably directed at your parents' house.
At your parents' house.
Different type of
if
pressure.
you don't score on this penalty shot.
Yeah. And Putin's face, he's always got the blue steel permanently on his face. He's never happy. So obviously that pressure, but Russia hasn't medaled in the Olympics since 2002, where they got bronze. Mm-hmm. They have one gold in the last 10 World Juniors. Mm-hmm. I think the program in itself, I think that the model is the Russia has always been blessed with having an Art Ross or Maurice Richard candidate, always. Yeah. Perennial. They're always going to have one.
Well, there's Fedorov back in the day, yeah.
They're just, but they don't put teams together in the same way that Canada does. I know we're not.
But even all countries, they're not a good team.
They're not a good team.
They've star players. I know, what I was saying to someone the other day was, to me, whenever I look at a Russian lineup, it reminds me of an Argentina soccer team where you see but when you see a few big names and you get excited. Oh, look at all this firepower. But then when you actually look at their lineup and you look at depth, you see a lot of holes. And you see, lack of strength in certain areas. They got guys like Markov. Where would Markov be on the Canadian depth chart? He wouldn't even be evaluated. And they got guys like that playing major minutes.
Yeah.
Right? It's to me, they got those stars up front. They got the Malkins, the Kovalchuks, of course the Ovechkins. Radulov had actually a decent tournament. But as a team, you look at a Sweden or a USA or a Canada, and I don't think it's close.
Well, look at. I mean, they're in the exact same boat as Canada, and that's what's surprising to me because the scores from Russia are pretty comparable to Canada. I mean, besides their first game, within Canada's first couple games, they had a big game, but after that, Russia really trailed off. They had a 0-0 tie at one point.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
So, I mean, as a team, I think they're in the same boat as Canada, except they don't have the depth.
Yeah, that some guy randomly on the third line is going to come up. I mean, the thing is, too, here we are talking about the States. They're a team that can win this whole thing. They're playing great. And Russia took them to a shootout.
Yeah.
So you kind of look at it and say, the gap isn't that big. Yeah. But to me, it's more about the lineup. Russia could even be playing tomorrow, and I'd still be saying the same thing. Saying that you look at the lineup, and you have that star power up front, but they just don't have the quality depth. You know what I mean? You had guys getting evaluated for this roster who are not even solid NHLers anymore. Right? To me, I don't know, man. To me, they
don't have the same pool.
Yeah, they're just not there right now. And I mean, do they have to do what Canada did in the way of a hockey summit to evaluate all this? And they need to make some changes to see, because there was a while where man, like how many World Juniors were they winning? And
Exactly. It was a while, but they were doing well.
They were always there. And the thing is, when you looked at their lineup, even playing those Canada games, even as a Canada fan, you were watching, and those Russian teams were better than Canada. Yeah. They had more of the puck, more shots, more control in the offensive zone. I don't know. I just think they have to make some changes in a hurry. And they got to stop. They got to do something to change the types of players that they develop. It's always that one-dimensional offensive superstar, Malkin, Kovalchuk, Ovechkin.
They don't have a shutdown guy.
Like Datsuk's Datsuk, but from a Russian standpoint, he's almost kind of random and weird. Yeah. And the way he plays an elite two-way game. Yeah. You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Is it Russia? I don't know. It's just different for them.
But you know what? Maybe that on the big ice, that's not a concern of theirs, right? Maybe their thought are you overload the ice with skill
and speed,
and you don't have to worry about playing D. But maybe that was 10 years ago.
Then they could just beat teams with their speed and not really have to worry.
Well, Latvia wasn't beating Canada with any speed.
No. Well, I mean, that's a whole different bag of worms. But in terms of Russia, going into, say, if they were playing Sweden, okay, if they did get through Finland and they were playing Sweden tomorrow, what would be your pick based on lineup?
I'd have to go Sweden.
You'd still go Sweden?
I'd go Sweden.
Because of Lundqvist or because of depth?
I think Lundqvist always helps. A solid goaltender always helps. I think Carey Price not being in net against Latvia is probably the difference. But I think Sweden has guys. They're in their national makeup. They have large bodies. Like they can do it. They're not.
What do they eat in Sweden?
I don't know. It's like the pescatarian diet. There's fish. There's some grubs and some seaweed.
And they're good looking, except for Alfred.
Very Aryan-like.
Aryan-like, yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting to see the two teams. Literally, I mean, Canada hockey is obviously on it at a peak, where potentially, if we get to the gold medal game, you're having very, very good showings straight years. Russia is just going.
Even if Canada loses tomorrow, I'd still argue till I'm blue in the face that Canada's the best hockey nation. And the way I measure it is that it's one game elimination. If it was a best of 7 tournament, Canada, to me, this wouldn't even be a tournament. Canada would plow through it.
But that's not the way it is.
It is the way it is. And the second thing is, I say, if you did actually make every country's second team, to me, even in a one-game elimination, that wouldn't be a tournament. If you look at guys like Eric Stahl, James Neal, Logan Couture, players who didn't make Canada. Marty St. Louis wasn't supposed to be on this team. Claude Giroux.
We can't go there now.
But to me, that's how you measure which hockey nation is the best nation.
That's not how they award medal.
For sure.
Well, I mean,
separate from to me, the medal is.
Yes, they have 5 stars in the NHL 14 Canadian hockey program overall. Great.
Is that the measuring?
But that's not. You still have to play the game.
Of course you do.
You have to play the game. So kind of moving off hockey. Busy, and we're not even talking about NHL here. Good Olympics so far. But, kind of sneaking under the radar. Probably they don't really care about Winter Olympics in the States that much as we do. But a story that's dominating. Oh, sorry. Let's talk about the women.
What about them?
How awesome they are.
That was unbelievable.
I can't believe I almost forgot.
Oh, man.
A request of mine to make sure we mention
We had to mention this on the show. I cannot believe now knowing ladies and gentlemen, work a job where I am
unfortunately.
I'm forced to work a job, and I am in the unfortunate situation where I can't watch as much Olympic coverage as I want to. So I had to PVR the gold medal game today between the U.S. women and the Canadian women, and I somehow managed to get through the day without finding the score out, which kind of talks to the types of people that I work with. They're not really my types of people. But anyways, and enough about that. But
potentially
I cannot believe, based on the result, I cannot believe that stayed quiet. Getting home, put the game on.
Really?
Yeah, I put it on.
I caught it in the third period.
You started watching in the third
period?
Well,
I had a couple things to do this morning, and then kind of come around, and my boss was in our boardroom just watching it, and I heard it was US 1-0. I come in there, he's like, it's just scored 2-1. Sat down, watched it.
Amazing.
That is essentially how you come back. That is Don Cherry, bless his soul, didn't know
Gotta
any
love
names,
Don.
but he pegged it. I mean, it's Canadian heart. And besides his random attack that he tried to launch on Gian Gomeshi, I mean, you basically had the ladies' team, men's team is struggling to take down Latvia, and you have the women coming back 2-0 in the third period against the United States.
Will to win, man. Just pure
Overtime.
will to win.
First minute overtime, like 70 shots. Okay? With like 2 feet outside the crease.
Yeah, the shots were 6-1 in like 3 minutes. Yeah,
insane.
Yeah. But that Canadian goalie was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You know who else? Poulin.
Yeah, well, that's
Poulin's looking like Orr out there, going through the entire.
Even her celebration on the winning goal. I'm just gonna score this goal.
That's what I made that comment. I said, "You wouldn't."
Does she know what she just did?
She scored. You see Crosby.
She scored Crosby.
He's throwing gloves at the stands, telling him, "I'm the king, bitch." And then she's just like, "Yay!" Like,
I'm good, and I know it. Yeah, I nailed it. But okay, 2 things about this though, right? Number 1, not that we care, but how devastated is that American team?
I think we care. They're still Olympians. That's what Olympics are.
I don't care. No Canadian will be discussing this except for me. How devastated is that American team to let that slip through their fingers? And I must point it out, and I'm sure it's not going to be talked about because a lot of Canadians care about this. But in that overtime, that penalty we took was a legitimate penalty in front of our net.
Yeah.
That checking penalty was a legitimate penalty. To put them on the first advantage?
No, it wasn't. She was already falling.
She followed through with her arms.
She was already falling. If she was on her feet, that's a check to the hips, and she's moving her. She's displacing her. She's falling.
I'll put it this way: I don't blame the referee I wouldn't blame the referee for making that call. That call on the Americans, that slashing of the.
Well,
that was a total.
If you don't make the call, the Canadian penalty, you don't have to make the U.S. one. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, but
the refs don't need to involve themselves in it. Once you get to that territory,
even Cassie Campbell said that had to be called.
Well, you know what Cassie Campbell says. That's the word of God.
Yeah, Cassie Campbell. Those eyes.
I think there was a quote of her circulating. It's what she said was, as a goalie, you never want to turn your back to the shooter. Well.
Thanks, Cassie.
Anyways,
appreciate
that's
that.
what Cassie Campbell's saying. Well,
yeah,
whatever.
she's on the she should be on the TSN panel with that line.
She probably is.
Yeah.
Probably will win. CBC kicks the bucket.
Yeah, but regardless of penalty call, non-penalty call, just epic, man.
Good job. Kudos to the ladies doing the entire nation proud, and you kind of see how everyone reacted. I think everyone was pretty bummed, basically, how the men have been playing. It's good to see stories like Humphreys and Moyes and the Canadian women's team obviously righting a lot of wrong ships. That's kind of happened the last couple of days. Was good for them.
That might be, even beyond hockey, that might maybe one of, if not the moment of the Olympics event.
Probably so far.
Yeah, for a neutral watcher to be watching that. That was A+ entertainment.
So far, I think tomorrow's game is going to be the craziest game you probably have ever seen.
The craziest game we've ever seen in the history of the rubber disc.
Absolutely.
And a puck.
It's you have the Canadian team that backs up against the wall. U.S. know it. It's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be good. And if it's not, I said this earlier to my wife. I told her, if the men drop the ball, I think it's an executive order from Harper to require all NHL players to fork over their salary to the women. That's just me.
Just like that, eh?
That's just me.
Just like that.
It's repossessed.
I was thinking too about the women. Now, you look at like a Haley Wickenheiser, and the ones who've been on the team for a while, just beyond hockey players, as Olympians, they have 4 Olympic gold medals. Like they won Salt Lake City, Torino, Vancouver,
and
now
U.S. and
Sochi.
Canada have met in 5 straight.
What's that?
U.S. and Canada have met in 5
right,
straight.
but Canada's won the last 4 now.
I know.
So like, as for any athlete to have 4 Olympic gold medals,
they're clutch. They're a clutch.
4 Olympic gold medals over 4 Olympics in your event. That is I know it's a team sport, but that is unbelievable. It's underspoken about.
Haley Wickenheiser not captain.
What's that?
Not captain.
Yeah, she's not.
That was weird.
Weird.
I didn't understand it. Obviously, it shows my ignorance.
Willette is the captain, right?
Yeah. But I was,
was Willette there? She must have been there like almost the whole time. Like, how old is Willette?
I don't know.
This is my knowledge of Canadian women's hockey.
if we had callers, I would ask them to come and sort this out. But
I think I do remember Willette from
last one.
No, but I think I even remember her from Salt Lake City. We'll have to look that up, but I think she's been there for all the goals.
Either way, we're proud of you guys. Congratulations!
Awesome. A+ stuff, man. Once again, that was the best decision I made in a long time to PBR that game.
This podcast was brought to you by
Rogers PBR.
I was gonna say non-brand specific PBR.
Yeah,
but that's fine if you want to get free advertising.
Sure. Throw us the money.
Now we can move on from hockey.
Sure.
For the time being until the next show, which will obviously dominate discussion. But as I was saying earlier, you have probably not everyone in the States is paying as much attention to the Winter Olympics because you know what you have? You have the reigning SEC Defensive Player of the Year coming out as gay.
Yeah.
Before he's drafted. This is not a Jason Collins when he thinks he's going to be at the end of his career. And I'm not suggesting Jason Collins did that on purpose, but it was obviously a different point in your life to make that disclosure.
For sure.
I mean, the question is, what do you think is going to happen? But what do you think should happen?
I'm very happy that you identified that because I think the discussions on sports radio are kind of getting mangled in the way that what should happen and what is going to happen.
Yeah.
You ask me what should happen. He should go where he should go. A team that is in need of a great defensive player.
Not too many places need that.
Yeah, exactly. A team that's in need of a great defensive player is going to take him high. What I think is going to happen, I question whether he even gets drafted.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be like that.
Manti
Te'o drops,
this is bigger.
Random. I know.
This is bigger than Manti
But he's not. Okay, but...
And Manti Te'o, he dropped as well too because he had a bad combine. I was going to say Michael Sam's combine
has to be good.
Has to be, and just to stick it to everyone. If he has an unbelievable combine, there's that pressure to draft him. And I think too, what's going to be big will be the type of organization that drafts him.
Not the Vikings. Story like a couple months ago was the ex-punter of the Vikings was basically accusing the entire organization of being homophobic. But I don't know if there's maybe New England. Maybe New England's
that would be the best thing that situation.
Is it? But
because no one's going to question Belichick or it's not coming up in that locker room.
But everywhere else, it's just I asked the question because that is probably the one last area in North America where very, very antiquated practices are just not challenged anymore. It's like, it took to the 90s to get, black quarterbacks actually respected enough to be serious. This is not a place that's screaming progressive.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, yeah.
And, I mean, full out kudos to Michael Sam. I think if you're drafting players and you're thinking about, okay, who do I want? Well, let's not talk about the social aspect. Who do I want as a player? Who has that X factor, who's going to be able to show up in a big game, survive under the pressure? This guy is coming out as gay in Missouri, in the NFL. Like, how much more balls do you want your players to show? I mean...
And you hear him speak, he's an intellectual guy. He would be the guy you'd want on your team.
But I think that the Richie Incognitos are more. There's more than just him, and if Richie Incognito can give Martin a hard time and he's not gay, not that we know of, he's not going to be the only guy giving people a hard time.
I think Sam expects that.
Luckily, he's a defensive end and not a defensive
I would ask
back.
you if you were. And this is going to be a few questions. First question is, if you were a very good NFL team, if you were the Broncos, the 49ers, the Seahawks, would you take a shot at Michael Sam? And when I say that...
Shot as in what? Like,
would you draft him? And I say this because I'm saying, with the positive things you have happening, sensitive locker rooms, you have a lot of good things going, would you take that chance?
And possibly disrupt your locker room?
Yeah.
To that...
Because I think you'd be ignorant to say this is not going to affect anything.
I mean, to that I would make the same argument that I made about black quarterbacks. I mean, this is, the teams that did take that chance, I mean, they benefited from it.
You think that, but media-wise, this is far...
There's going to be...
But this is a different age, Phil. Like, this is going to be whoever drafts him.
I don't think so. I think media-wise, no one will care.
Oh my goodness.
I think. No one
will care, but it's still going to be a huge.
The players will.
It's going to be a huge story.
Yeah.
As that you drafted him, not necessarily you shouldn't have drafted him.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a circus.
I think a team. I don't think a lot of people care who it is. They need to do it. They need to get it out of the way. They need to elect the Barack Obama of the NFL. Just get it out of the way so you can realize, you know what? Gay, straight, doesn't matter.
But who's going to be that team?
I would say New England would be...
Yeah, to pick one team. But I'm saying, would you draft... Okay, I'll put it this way. Would you draft him if you had him as a very good defensive player on your board...
And there's a comparable?
And there's a comparable, even one notch lower in the recruiting...
I would take the best player. I would, because I don't think, again, media-wise, it's a distraction.
I would not.
I don't think media-wise, I think players, it's a distraction, but that's what I'm saying. In New England, there's the players that do voice issues.
So if you were the Miami Dolphins...
Different situation. You have a bullying situation allowed to continue. So it's not an atmosphere that no one's laying down any law.
If you were the Detroit Lions... Like I'm saying, picking teams here. I mean, to me, I would not...
I think a lot of it has to do with where it is. Honestly, it's all contextual. And if you're doing this in Kansas City, no, don't be so crazy. You know what?
San Francisco,
Oakland. No, I'm serious. Oakland, yeah. San Francisco, New England. Probably not the most sensitive, but it's going to be more progressive. New York plays. I mean, I think it's an actual.
So he can't get taken by Dallas, is what you're saying.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough spot. I really do. And I think a lot of teams are going to shy away from it. And I got to be honest, I think I would too. I think in the NFL, things are so razor thin, and you're dealing with a lot of sensitive, emotional individuals. And I don't know how that's going to affect other people on my team, and that's my number one priority. And I won't be shocked if this guy does not get drafted. Oh. But what's a worse story? I mean, what's a bigger story? Him getting drafted or him not getting drafted?
I think him, if he doesn't get drafted, here's what the NFL needs to realize. Sport of football is not just attracted to one type of person. There's going to be different people out there that appreciate your sport. You don't want to offend a large group, even though you have a monopoly. You have a chance right now. I mean, you have basically the United States looking to Sochi and saying, you know, they're against gay rights. This is, well, you know, clean your house up first, and then you can go make those accusations.
Right, for sure. But and what you're referring to, like, I totally agree with you. I don't think anyone would disagree with you, or most people wouldn't disagree with you. But the NFL, I think, knows what should happen, but we're looking at individual teams. And I think every individual team would say, yeah, of course, this guy should get drafted. If he deserves it, will you draft him? And now I think it's a different conversation. I think it's a much, much different conversation. And I don't know. I think it's a bag of worms. I think it could end up being a mess. And to me, it's sensitive. It's sensitive, especially in the NFL. Compared to other sports, do you think, say, the other three majors, hockey, baseball, basketball?
I think it would obviously be easier to come in the other sports. But
you think the football is the hardest?
It is the hardest, but I think that's where it needs to happen. I think that having a black governor is not a big deal. Having a black president is a big deal. So starting from the hardest is probably the most beneficial to actually change. And I think if the NFL can change, I think there's pressure not only just on the NFL, but pressure on the United States. And I think the NFL starts that.
Yeah. What I can't believe with this whole story is in today's day and age, okay, with Facebook and Twitter and whatever else these kids are doing today, he told his teammates.
I know, and they didn't come.
It didn't come out. How did no guy on the team tell his buddy or tell his girlfriend?
I think they did. I just think that's just indicative of where it's heading. It's like people don't care anymore. It's not a big. He comes out. He wins a trophy at his. He's the best defensive player. He's winning games for us. He's not asking us to partake in his sexual behavior. Those are two distinct things. So people wanting to ruin his life by outing him, I think they saw it as a benefit. That's why I think teams are going to be like, you know what? His skill is what we want. And we're going to tell people not to mess around on the social aspect because we want him to feel welcome.
I guess that, do those precautions have to be taken immediately? If you're a head coach and your team drafts this guy, do you have to take the immediate precaution that I don't want a single tweet
I think
in reference
I think the organization does that.
They have to.
I think it's part of the protocol. This is not a, okay guys, this is nice and easy. Like, this is
something's gonna happen.
Something is gonna happen.
Something's gonna
it
happen.
has to happen. It's been too long, I think.
Yeah. No.
Speaking about too long,
Too long.
Derek Jeter
What's that?
announcing his retirement.
Speaking of too long, Derek Jeter. You talking to the women in New York lately?
I think one year too long.
1 year?
Jeter.
You know, right?
I think if he doesn't have the injury last year, I think this year is going to be a little bit. I mean, I don't know if he had to clarify his ankle's not what's ailing him. It's the muscles that surround it, because he wasn't able to train, and it's not the broken ankle. Anyways, I don't know if it's going to be a pretty farewell tour.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, we saw Mariano Rivera's farewell tour. It was very extravagant.
Yeah, those weird gifts.
Very, very well rocking.
Did someone give him like a Sega Genesis?
A rocking chair.
Yeah.
Is Derek Jeter's farewell tour going to be bigger or smaller?
Yeah.
And should it be bigger or smaller?
It is going to be bigger.
Oh, yeah.
It is going to be bigger. Should it be? That's up for debate. Mariano Rivera is arguably the
all-time saves leader.
Yeah.
All-time
if someone looked,
MLB, not just Yankees hit leader.
Yeah.
All-time.
If someone looked at me and said Mariano Rivera is the best pitcher to ever walk on the mound, I couldn't argue with you.
Whatever.
Is Jeter the best
shortstop?
Yeah. I mean, that's up for debate, I guess, as well. But it's not as clear cut, maybe, as Rivera.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be big.
It's going to be bigger.
It's going to be huge.
Jeter's
he's a captain. Both guys have 5 rings.
Yeah.
Same everything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't distinguish but Jeter captaining for a Porsche.
He's the king of New York.
King of New York. I think he could run as mayor, and he would be acclaimed. No one would even run against him. I think he could do what he wants, and that's, hey guys, I'm retired. I think he could actually say, no, and I'm not retiring. Good, whatever, Derek. Just let us know. Let us know what you want to do. Okay, we just don't want to piss you off, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
what I cannot wait for on that farewell tour is Fenway Park.
Oh wow! What do you think the reaction's gonna be?
He gets an applause.
I think he should.
He gets a standing ovation.
I think he should. Yeah. I think, you know what? He's a warrior that's gone out for so many years. You respect what he's done. He's obviously brought you.
The Sox have won now. I mean, absolutely. I remember going to Fenway and they were selling T-shirts that said Derek Jeter drinks, I think, wine coolers. I think is what the T-shirt that was selling in the thousands said. But but on that day though, I think he does get an applause, and I think it's going to be huge. This guy, even beyond baseball, like this guy's a big product. He's a big name. Jeter. Even I'll put it this way: my sister knows who Derek Jeter is. My wife knows who Derek Jeter is.
People know.
Does my wife and sister know
Robinson Cano?
Right. Do they know who Mariano Rivera is? No. Derek Jeter. He's the king of New York. This thing's going to be huge. Is it going to be bigger than it should be? Maybe. But, you know what? The guy deserves it to me. I'm not even a Yankee fan. I mean, I think that the guy's A+. He's awesome.
Well, that brings us to our new, I guess, closing portion of the show.
I'm excited. We need a theme song for this.
We do need a theme song.
Send us emails for theme songs.
Suggestions. We're going to drop you the WTF moment of the week.
The WTF moment of the week.
So we'll each give our kind of take on something that we've, taken us by surprise. Mike, you want to go first? Or?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. My WTF moment of the week, and I'm sure I would get a lot of agreement on this one, was the NBA All-Star Weekend. It started with the slam dunk competition that needs its own show on how terrible it is. I remember being a little kid watching Michael Jordan jump from the free throw line and jam it, and just being so excited, and everyone was so excited to see who was going to win, and the best players were involved. And now it's still good players, it's still kind of cool-ish to watch, and you tune in, but it's nowhere where it used to be. The best players don't do it. The biggest thing this weekend, in terms of coolness in the NBA, was that YouTube video that went viral of LeBron James dunking in practice, because his dunks were better than the NBA All-Star Weekend's dunks in the competition. Then moving on to the actual game. So I turned it on. I'm at my buddy's house. You had Pharrell, and you had Snoop, and I think it was Busta Rhymes, and it just kept going. I was waiting for the game. These guys played for like 20 minutes. Then Pharrell played a song with Jay-Z. You could tell the crowd got all excited because they thought Jay-Z was going to come out, and then he didn't.
No.
And it was a recording.
No.
Because Hofo was watching the game at home on his couch, or maybe he was in the crowd.
Or in his yard.
Yeah, and just didn't want to perform anyways. And then watching the game, no one's trying. Those who know me well know I'm a Knicks fan. Melo, as kind of didn't take Cassie Campbell's advice, where he had his back to the shooter all the time, watching the ball fly over his head. To me, it's just it was kind of boring and beige, and I just wish I could turn on an NBA All-Star game like I would as a kid and kind of root for something and wait for something spectacular to happen. But I don't know if it's going to happen. So to me, my WTF trophy of the week is the Sprite NBA All-Star Weekend. There you go.
Not
you,
bad.
Phil? I'm passing the torch. What's your WTF?
My WTF moment is kind of when I see Canada and Latvia battling it out, and I see Ted Nolan, I say, how did this guy go so long without a coaching offer?
Yeah.
And, Islanders stint aside, mid-2000s, I don't know, if he could coach a program from basically non-qualifier to the Olympics to taking the defending gold medalist to the third period in a tie, I don't know. I think he deserves more of a look. And you got guys like Paul Maurice who are getting like multiple looks, going through the cycle billions of times. You have guys like Ted Nolan on the way out.
same team, yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's WTF to me because I really hope that this shows everyone out there that Ted Nolan does know what he's doing. He's not he does not kill players' careers or GMs' careers, whatever the accusations were before. He's a decent coach. He deserves a chance, and hopefully this guys had to go all the way to Latvia to get respect at his own home country. I think that's despicable, but that's my WTF moment, and I hope that it's enough to open people's eyes.
Does he stay with Buffalo?
What's that?
Does he stay with Buffalo?
Well, I think Buffalo's much like Latvia in that,
in the way that it rains all the time.
No, I mean they're obviously building. They're not, and I think if you're in a building environment, I think eventually owners and GMs get impatient. I'm thinking he won't be around there forever, but I do hope that it's not, well, he failed there and he's not going to get another chance. I hope that it's okay. You're done before you leave. You're going to get taken up somewhere else. If John Tortorella can do it, and Alan Vino can do it.
Think of put that in perspective, guys giving John Tortorella multiple shots.
And come on.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was the Civil War episode 1. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
There's that music again. Never gets old, does it?
We just got to get back to the third period here. We have
While you guys have been listening, we've been trying to get to the shootout, but I keep beating Phil. You gotta step your game up.
You hear that? Fight.
Yeah. We've had a blast, guys, as usual. Can't wait till our next show where we're gonna have some gold medal winners. And we're gonna be approaching the NHL trade deadline, so that'll be a big topic. Can't wait. And enjoy the weekend, guys. You're gonna see some great hockey, and we'll see you next time.